First of all, period, Cardi, period. When I tell you her album is everything, do you hear me? It is everything. It's everything that some of these artists aspired and wished that their shit was. And that's all that I'm saying because, bitch, it's better than you, honey. It's better. We are better than you. You tell yourself that anybody out there who been hating on you for no damn reason, or even if they have several buckets of reasons, you tell them hoes that we, bitch, oh, we are better than you. Okay? Better than you. And speaking on being better than motherfuckers, tonight's episode, girl, of the Savon Experience Pillow Talk, where we always save a space for clarity, truth, honey, emotions, honey. We gets it in. So this is the Savon Experience Pillow Talk, a space for truth, clarity, and emotional intelligence. Today, we're diving into something that's realer than we'd like to admit. Being or doing quiet firings. From friendships, families, relationship, situationships, whether you doing the quiet firing or ghosting, or the one being quietly fired or ghosted, honey, you need to tap into tonight's episode because we're about to get into the things of the things. Okay?
You're tuned into the Savon Experience. Pillow Talk. Let's talk. They say keep it cute, but I'm done with the mask. This ain't your highlight reel, it's the shit we don't ask. Unfiltered, unscripted, no dress code here. Just vibes and confessions you ain't used to hear. Tired truths in a silk bonnet frame. Whispers in the dark, but I'm speaking with flame. Pouring soul with a side of sass. You ain't tuned in for fake, this is real at last. To the quiet space where the moonlight touches grace. I'm speaking slow, from soul to soul. This is the Savon Experience. Pillow talk, let it flow. No mask, no noise, just my truth.
And we're back, honey, because we're still better than you hoes, honey. Still better than you hoes. So as I stated before the intro, honey, we are talking about quiet firings, those who do them, those who receive them, those who didn't know they was being quietly fired. Girl, this is a personal episode, honey, for y'all folks who understand. So hopefully you tapping in. Okay? So let's talk about what is quiet firings, or what we used to call them, ghosting. We used to say you ghosted somebody. You ghosted the job, or you being ghosted, right? You're ghosting the relationship, the friendship, or the friendship has ghosted you, or you may be on the receiver, or you may be on the giving end of it, right? But in today's word, they have a softer term, honey. It's called the soft exit, and it's called quiet firings, honey. Now, some in the professional space call it quiet quitting. But in this instance, we're talking about relationships and friendships. We're not talking about business, although it may apply. Quietly firing someone. This is when someone slowly, or when you slowly distance yourself from them. You don't invite them to shit. You don't care if you've been invited to shit. You ain't returning calls, girl. You're just not really engaged anymore. You know what I'm saying? And you unfollow slowly and silently. And there's never really a conversation, right? You just realize one day, or they realize one day, that you've been let go. And ain't nobody said shit to you, or you ain't said shit to them. Oh, honey, I know some of y'all know what I'm talking about because you've done it. I know I've definitely been quietly fired a few times from relationships, friendships, most often situationships, though. You know what I'm saying? And bitch, I was the last to know. Nobody sent me the memo. Nobody sent a SOS, bitch. Didn't nobody send me a text message, girl, a message in a bottle, bitch. Didn't nobody nudge me on my shoulders and politely say, girl, listen, girl, you are dismissed. Ain't nobody said you. Ain't nobody told me nothing. Not a damn thing. So now I'm just stuck trying to figure out the fuck is going on. What's going on? Actually, I ain't gonna lie to you, girl. When I've been quietly fired, bitch, I ain't gave it two fucks. It's rarely that I give a fuck. Because I feel like if it's a situation, then we should be adult enough to talk about that situation. And if you can't talk about that situation, then once again, it was none of my motherfucking business. So, and if I'm not talking to you about the situation, I don't feel it's worthy of one, or the energy is required, or I should invest that energy in it. So, bitch, we not gonna have it. But happy to have it if you want to, right? So, you know, in today's world, especially I'll say during COVID, there were a lot of realizations that's happening. Now, y'all know that my theme is always pointing back to COVID, because for me, COVID was the breaking point, the breaking ground, or the moment where I discovered so much about myself. You know, I discovered that I am not the socialite that I thought that I was, although I have the personality, I have the wherewithal, I have everything to be in any setting and totally be like engaged, you know, totally being able to be totally just, you know, engulfed in the experience. I can also make people feel so included in the experience. And so a lot of people thought, as well as I, that I was just a social butterfly. But listen, when those gates, those doors locked, those masks came on, and social distancing wasn't something suggested, but a requirement, girl, I was in my house like, yes, God. You mean I ain't got to find a way to get out of something, out of an engagement I have of trapped myself into, that I done volunteered myself? I ain't got to do it, girl. Listen, I ain't got to be tired. I ain't got to be overworked. Girl, I fell asleep. Girl, I forgot. Girl, I'm just not going to make it. Girl, come up with some creative way as to why I'm not going to be there, girl. Listen, I learned so much about myself. So during the whole experience, right, I learned that. And so with that, set a new tone, like, for the world, and for those that, you know, I wanted to make time for, and for those that, you know, I just didn't. So from the receiver's point of view, this is how you know that you've been ghosted or quietly fired, right? There's a lot of ambiguity. Girl, listen here, I'm fucking up words. And I am really having Crystal Light. I'm not like, this is really water. Like, y'all, I really don't drink. So, but this is a great prop. But ambiguity, there's a lot of pain there. And people get to one of the quiet attackers in the moments. And so what am I doing? I'm walking into when, from a receiver point of view, how it feels being quietly fired or ghosted. You sit there wondering. You have like this huge amount of self-doubt. You're spiraling like, oh my God, did I do something wrong? What could I have done? And I watched a podcast that of someone talking about and saying how they felt like quiet fires or ghosting was very immature. And they also felt that it was wrong because they felt like that you should have the conversation. You should be adult enough to be able to tell someone if they've done something, where they sit in that situation, so that they understand why the dynamics of the relationship, friendship, familyship, whatever situationship has changed. And so, although I can understand why someone would feel that way, right? Because that is the responsible thing to do, right? It is the emotionally intelligent thing to do so that you can kind of tie off all the loose ends, tidy up your little space, and you can just move on, right? And don't have to really look back and have those conversations. And so, in the interest of protecting your peace, I do understand that. But there are often times where I'm just like, bitch, I don't owe you shit. Right? I don't have to tell you nothing. And then with ghosting or quiet firing, you start comparing it to emotional abandonment. If you have rejection traumas or issues, you may feel, all of those whispers in your head come up because now you feel rejected. And all this ties to emotional dissonance and unprocessed resentment, which kind of goes into a couple of the previous episodes where I talked about, unprocessed resentment. And so this is why it gets a little tricky, right? But what I will say, in situations where I was the receiver, I would have really expected or would have appreciated some sort of conversation. One, so that everyone involved could have the clarity that they needed to understand why this particular situation wasn't going any further, right? And also, most often, I feel like people didn't have conversations with me because they knew they was fucking wrong for just ghosting my ass. And I was going to pretty much challenge it. Now, would I try to save the friendship? No. Or situationship or relationship? No. Because, bitch, if you want to go, go. But what you won't be able to do in that situation is called I'm going to call bullshit. And so when I've been quietly fired or ghosted, typically there's always what they call it, a circle. They try to circle the block. And they want to have a conversation. Oh my God, I just been talking to you and blah, blah, blah. And I'm just very much like, bitch, you done set the tone that we're not talking. So there's no talking. What we're not talking about anything, girl. Now I'm ghosting. Because I'm not picking up the phone. I'm not returning the message, girl. You stop by the house, girl. You'll be out there just knocking and ringing that doorbell, girl. You get nothing. You understand what I'm saying? You come in, because clients have ghosted me too. Yes, I've been ghosted professionally. And I learned recently, speaking of clients ghosting me, some situations where I thought I was being ghosted, girl, no, listen, it was a huge misunderstanding. Listen, you have to, so I'm going to segue into, you have to be careful of the things that you say, even when jokingly saying things in a professional space or a personal space or whatever the case may be, because the person who's receiving that or hearing that may actually think that shit has some validity. It may be real. They may really feel that way. So what am I talking about? So girl, I recently found out through about 3 or 4 clients. They were like, I got a bone to pick with you. And I was like, okay, what's going on? And they said, so when I decided to go on my natural hair care journey, I remember you specifically telling me that you don't do natural hair and you ain't gonna do natural hair, and that's that on that. So I'm gonna have to find somebody else, right? And they said, so, and that's fine. I was out here and I found somebody else, blah, blah, blah. But what the problem that I have, unbeknownst to me, y'all, is that so-and-so, so-and-so, and so-and-so, and they listed like people who come to me right now who's natural. And they're like, so what was the decision factor for you? Like, how did you decide who you was going to service and provide natural hair care services to, and then who you weren't? And so they were just like, they felt like I quietly fired them by telling them that I wasn't going to provide. I wasn't doing natural hair. I was doing just relaxed hair, girl. I'm not doing that shit. Find somebody else to do it. I ain't got the time, blah, 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 blah. And although I remember having that conversation and saying that I said that. I did say that. But what I left out was the clarity that was needed to say, but if this is something that you really want to do, let's talk about the transition of that, right? And let's talk about the upkeep. Let's talk about what that's going to look like from a cost perspective. Let's have that conversation. But they didn't push the topic. I didn't push the topic. And they just slowly rolled out and, I to get their hair done somewhere else. And I was like, okay, girl, well, I guess they're going somewhere else and that's it, right? But I never knew why they moved on. And I was like, well, girl, and it came up because it was like, look, I want to get back on the books and I want to come. And I was like, well, girl, I really don't know why you stopped coming. That's how the conversation started in these situations. They was like, what you mean? You told me you wasn't doing my hair no more. I'm like, girl, no, that's not what I said. I don't remember it that way. And so this is when those quiet firings or ghostings or soft exits kind of become tricky. And so I had to eat those words because I said that. In that moment, I said that, and I knew that I made these individuals feel like I wasn't fucking with them no more because they was getting natural. They was going natural. And what's so crazy is I do have more natural clients, who come get silk presses and things like that. And I'm now stepping more into 2-strand twist and things like that too, because my clients keep me challenged. And I think that's the thing that I forgot to communicate, that I do want to be challenged. And I'm also, if you're in the Nashville area and you have long hair, honey, whether it's natural and or relaxed, girl, I want to do some 90s styles. So hit up the Savon Experience at gmail.com and let me know. And so we can, collaborate. Now, I'm not doing it for free. I mean, I wanted to say that. But if you're looking for that, and I do want to post the content, we can, come up with something, but it's not going to be for free. Okay. But let's leave it there. But, and so, what the fuck? What was that, girl? Stuff is just falling. So we talked about it, and then I felt so bad. I felt so bad because at this point, years had passed, and, several of them shared their experiences when they were trying to find other stylists to do their hair and just kind of the things they were going through and what they were. And it made me feel bad because I really do care about my clients and I really do care about, my village. And my clients are my village. My clients, to me, if you are a client of the Savon Experience or Tilly Unique Design, it's more than just financial exchange. It's very much financial exchange. Let's not confuse anything. But, I really do care about my clients. And so I want to make sure their hair is healthy. I want to make sure that if it's something that they're doing, we're educating, we're doing all these things. So I didn't feel bad because I was like, oh my God, all these years has passed and you've gone through all of this and you didn't have to because I was right here. But I didn't make that clear. And so that's what happens even when you feel like, in that situation, it was me jokingly saying something. But let's say if it was something that I wasn't joking about and I just never really opened the space to have the dialogue to actually rectify a situation or, save a relationship, situationship, friendship, something like that, right? So then we're just walking around here with our own understanding. Nobody's really mad sometimes, and sometimes resentment and other shit kind of falls into place and things get a little tricky. But, if we didn't have that, if we would have had that conversation sooner, then we could have saved a lot of time and a lot of anxiety and a lot of stress, So when you're the one being in the position in that particular situation, I was the one, I guess, that did the soft exit or quiet firing or whatever the case may be, and really just didn't deep dive into the conversation, to really get clarity and understand they weren't playing. They were really wanting to, swift shift, how they wanted to treat their hair and just kind of, go in a different direction, which happens a lot in the hair care industry. And I wasn't emotionally intelligent enough, nor was I really on cue with really being perceptive and understand that they were being honest about this. So for my family of clients out there, if you hear this and you were one that was impacted by the Savon Experience misunderstanding and banishment, girl, call me. My number's the same. We can fix that. But let's get back to the topic at hand. Quiet firing or emotional ghosting. So from the one doing quiet firing, so there's been friendships that I've had to definitely exit out of, and I ain't say shit. We just don't talk. There was no explosion. There was no huge battle. We didn't battle cat it out. We didn't do any of those things. I just exited stage left because as you grow in life and as you transition into other spaces in life, you can't always bring everybody with you. Some people have to be left where they are because they are still in that they're in their recyclical path of really just doing the same thing, the redundant things over and over again, making the same choices, same mistakes, You know what I'm saying? 2 plus 2 is going to always equal 4, no matter what language you speak, however you handle that arithmetic. That's the way it is. So some people continue to do the same thing and then constantly wonder why their life is not being impacted positively, or why they're constantly running into the same issues with new relationships, existing relationships, just over and over again. No one really understands how they're contributing to that issue. So, you know, for me being a person who's done quiet firings before, a lot of times it was if I knew that they weren't going to understand what I was trying to say, they just can't see it because they're in the moment, right? They can't even get out of their own way. I don't want, you know, I avoid the conflict in that instance. You know, I avoid the emotional labor that it's going to take, because especially if it's not going to help the situation, it's not going to change the fact that we go on our separate ways. It's only going to add like some salt and spice on it, and that's not really necessary, right? Because if I'm going my own way, I'm going my own way. We don't have to have this explosion. You know what I'm saying? And so I used silence as a boundary instead of communication. Is what I did. So silence, honey, and this is definitely, you know, connected to the episode where I said silence is a response, honey. It is, right? So the episode where I said, silence also protects your boundaries. It falls into this too. And I used silence, you know, to really create that boundary. And that in itself, lack of communication was my communication. And then also there's elements of fear of hurting someone's feeling, you know, because you have to be brutally honest if you have that discussion. So you try to avoid, you know, hurting someone's feelings, avoid the things being misunderstood, or you just may not have the words to really express why you just feel like just moving the fuck on. So a lot of times silence and not doing anything and just start tiptoeing away and distancing yourself and working longer hours or not being available, and you just really start distancing yourself, and there's a number of reasons that people do that, and oftentimes it's tied to either the situation or where they are emotionally or intellectually, and how and what wherewithal or lack of wherewithal to be able to communicate how they feel in that moment, right? And sometimes they could just be tired. A lot of times it could be just, I know for me, and I'm going to speak from my experience, I can't speak for anyone else. I'll say, girl, I get tired of saying the same thing all the time. Girl, you keep going through the same shit all the time. You keep playing in the same dirt. You keep doing the same things, but then you're expecting different results. And I'm like, but why? You're not doing anything to help yourself. You're not doing anything to help the situation, or you're doing things to trigger certain responses from people. And then when you get that response, it's like, well, this is what I was talking about. Well, no, bitch, you triggered that response. You knew exactly what you was doing. Or if you didn't, you're not looking, you're not understanding how your actions play into people's reactions. Cause and effect is still a thing, right? So sometimes there's a thin line between you simply creating boundaries, silent boundaries, and ghosting. Okay? And a lot of times the response of that quiet fire or silence is them just respecting your boundary. They're honoring your boundary, right? And and with that, sometimes they're honoring the boundary, or they could be also avoiding accountability. So if you're someone that you're moving away silently and quietly, but you still want them to recognize that you're moving away silently and quietly because you want them to have some sort of, you don't have a conversation, or you need there to be some sort of accountability, then I don't think that quiet firing or soft exits is should be your strategy. I think you should actually just have the conversation so that you can get the closure that you need, or whatever it is that you need done, gotten, so that you can move the fuck on, right? But whether you silently move on or not, when you choose to silently move on, you gotta understand there are emotional repercussions that's there. You know, if you silently moved on and that was a valuable relationship, situationship, job, whatever it was, if it was valuable at any particular season or period of time in your life, I really would say that you need to really think about that, because what you've got to understand that the same people you see shifting, whether you're going up and down or around, you're going to see these same people again. And you just never know when you might be in a situation where you really need someone. So, there are some emotional repercussions when you decide to just quietly fire somebody. If you need them, or you want to later have the conversation later on, after you've had time to think about it, and motherfuckers may not be, honey, if it was me and you ghosted me and now you want to have a conversation several years, several months, several weeks later, okay, or have that conversation with yourself, record it and listen to it, because I'm not going to be open to it. Like, I'm just not going to. And if I did you like that and I come back around saying, girl, listen, let's have a conversation. You like, bitch, talking season is over. That window passed. Okay, girl, listen, I respect that. I overstand, as one of my friends said. I overstand, honey. I don't understand. I get it. I get it. Okay? Because when you're being ghosted and you don't know really what happened, you feel replaced, you feel erased, you feel dismissed. You really do. And if that was your goal, you succeeded. Bitch, if your goal was to make me feel that way, you succeeded. But you also succeeded in some other things, because then that's when my as Cardi B said on her album, now I'm gonna be pretty and petty. I'm about to be pretty and petty. Because especially when I learned that you did it just to make me feel, horrible, dismissed, erased, and just feel really bad. And bitch, oh, you did that on purpose because you knew. Because some people will trigger you. Narcissistic people will use tools, your own tools, things that you've shared and expressed with them against you when they get mad at you. And then, bitch, you like, you little motherfucker, is what that's gonna be like, bitch. You got me fucked up. And so when I get petty, you can get mad. Like they say, be careful of the fires that you start. You can't control how they burn. You don't get to tell me how to respond to you. So you don't get to choose that. So even when you fire somebody or you being fired, understand the dynamics there. You can't control and tell that person how to feel about your actions. They have a right to feel the way they fucking feel about it. You can respect them or don't respect them, but it doesn't invalidate or erase them. So in a situation where I had to quietly fire somebody, I mean, I absolutely love this person, and if there was ever truly a need where, any of the people that was in a situation that they needed something, I would definitely be there quietly, distantly, and that would be it. It would be like, girl, I need so-and-so, and if I got it, I'm going to do it, but there's not going to be no conversation. There's not going to be a dialogue. There's not going to be, girl, I just want to call and thank you. Don't call me. I'm not answering the phone still. Like, you get what I'm saying? Like, that's kind of what it's giving. And then oftentimes, people do shit and I don't say shit because I'm like, wait a minute, let me check my feelings and make sure I ain't the one tripping. Let me self-assess, right? I want to make sure, am I being ghosted? Am I being quietly fired? Girl, are they acting funny? Are they tripping? And what is the reason why they moving in a way? And, I'll go through that whole process. And if I feel like you somebody who do shit just to do shit and then, to get an outcome, I won't give you any type of response, girl. A boy, diva, jiva, whoever. I won't give you no response, bitch. You'll be sitting there wondering for the rest of your life, because I'm not, I ain't, and I can't, And so when that happens, we just not gonna do that. And so there's been family members we've had to quietly, I've watched people, I tell everybody all the time, my mom is she is my superstar. Everything I learned, who I am today, all the things, everything that makes me who I am came from her. I watched her move, and I've watched her. She is the first person that taught me about, one, creating boundaries, forcing people to respect your boundaries. And baby, she was the first queen of a quiet fire, soft exit, ghosting without a word. And she's a Scorpio girl, so you already know. Gave zero fucks, because when she's done, she's done. So I've seen family members get quietly fired. And they may not give a fuck now, but at the time, they gave several. They gave several fucks, honey. The hell is going on? What you doing? You gotta know your opponent. You gotta know your friend. You gotta know your family. Okay, baby. You started exiting stage left, bitch. Not answering phones. Not at the time. Not returning voice messages, girl. Not. And she could have easily changed the number. Ain't changing her number. She just ain't calling you back. So this is another way that you can tell if you've been, if you've been quietly fired, because, let's say you was a part of the in crowd, the group text, the closest committee, the in committee, and then now all of a sudden, you're not holidays, gatherings, birthday parties, big announcements, things like that you used to be kind of like in the know on, like you're now like getting the same alerts and announcement like when everybody else get them. That's another way that you've been like you quietly fired, because now you're getting, if you were on the inside getting information, and now you getting the same information from people as when the audience, like when the release, like Parkwood, people who work for Beyonce, Parkwood, they're the inside. They know what's going on. And they know 2 or 3 years before what she's going to drop 2 years later. And then now all of a sudden, you used to be on the inside. But now, girl, you find out when Beyonce drops her album at 12 o'clock on Tuesday, you know about it at 12 o'clock on Tuesday, because now you're no longer a part of the in crowd, right? You're not on the committee anymore. And so I've been in that situation, girl. I ain't gonna lie. I've been in that situation and probably will be in that situation again where I don't know. And that's okay. Okay. That's quite all right. Okay. It is what it is, right? I don't get as affected by that shit anymore, because I'm like, okay, girl, whatever. I am 49 years old, girl. If that's where we are, that's where we are. And I may wonder, how did we get there? I could have done something to have put myself in that situation. But see, when I've been silently, when you've exited the situation softly or quietly, we don't get to have that conversation. So neither of us will really know. So there it is what it is, right? So I've watched her do that. And I've watched her, I've watched her move. And I've also seen people who've been affected by this say, oh, this is just how they are. You know what I'm saying? This is what they do. Okay. That's what they are. This is how they do. Okay. That's fine. And so I've seen that. And then sometimes culturally things make you change. As you shift in life, and as your understanding of how life works and whatever your personal growth is and whatever your journey is, you may shift, and the way you think and the way you move is now different. So of course, those who are not there yet may not get it. And a lot of times, they may not understand it. And so you have to move differently, because everybody can't go with you. Think about all the people who have progressed in life and they've gone up several notches, and they couldn't bring the same people with them, right? A lot of times they tried and they couldn't. And then there are some people who feel like it's a flex, so they have to do that, right? They want to do that because they need that type of validation, or they need that type of response after whatever it is. It's been like they need it. Like, I did, their girl, I did, and but that's great. That's something that you need. So I was emotionally exiled because of emotional challenges that you have, or you get what I'm saying? So whatever. But I also feel like there's importance to having these type of conversations with key people. So I think you should definitely assess in your circle of people who you should soft exit from and then who you shouldn't, because I do believe that there's a lot of things that could happen, especially in today's world. And if you have somebody, I'm going to get serious for a second. If you have somebody who really cares about you and really, authentically trying to be there for you, and you don't give them the opportunity to kind of explain themselves, I don't know if that's really an on you thing or on them, because it kind of depends on the dynamics of that person in that situation. But I do know that can get real tricky. You've got when it happens to you and you're the person that was really authentically trying to be the best version of yourself, then you kind of look at you got to do some self inquiries. Some people do self blaming. Some people will ask for clarity if they feel that it's emotionally safe to do that, or they just let go without closure. And then when you do that, when you let go without closure, a lot of times those issues show up from a relationship perspective. When you let go of things, and I know for me, for a very long time, before I had gotten into a really solid relationship, I had a whole lot of situationships. And a lot of those situationships were ended with a lot of ghosting and quiet firings from either side. So I really didn't understand, when I walked into a situation and someone, was truly authentically interested, different things, like they would get busy with just life things, work, family things, hobbies, things of that nature. And when they would go quiet, I would automatically think that I've done something. What did I do? Oh my God, are they ghosting me? And I'm going through this whole laundry list of things that I may have done. So there's scars that are there when you are the receiver of being ghosted or quietly fired, and someone has exited your life so softly. There's scars that's there that if you don't deal with those scars, they can show up in your next situationship, your next experience, right? And it can cause problems. Those scars can cause issues there because there'll be traumatic triggers for you. And this is why I said you have to fix that. You have to work on that. You have to make sure you do the work to make sure that you're okay before walking into another either friendship, another job. If it's a job situation, a lot of us got PTSD from our jobs, So when we walk into new jobs and I don't know, depending on your experience, it's different and you're triggered by certain things because maybe you you was in Baghdad for the last, I don't know, several years, and now you back you're no longer deployed, right? You're back with the civilians, right? And you don't know how to deal with that because no one's attacking you, right? But you feel that way. That's just an analogy. But you have to think about this. So when you let go without closure, it can show up in other ways, other friendships, people, when you get another friend. In my last episode, I was talking about how quit, letting people, giving them so much initially. You do that because you feel like you have to sell yourself on them because you've been quietly fired so many times that you want to make sure when you go into that next job or that next experience, relationship, situationship, friendship, that you are showing up your best self and you're making sure they understand your value. But that takes time. You shouldn't do that either. But that's why I say you have to do the work. You have to have that conversation. Reach out to those people who left you and didn't have that conversation and see if they'll talk about it. And if they don't want to talk about it, then you're going to have to understand that in that space, I would say if they don't want to talk about it and they can't give you any feedback as to why they treating you the way they're treating you or why they let you go or why they're no longer friends with you, then I will say for your own sanity, then I wouldn't take anything out of that situation into my next situation. I would say I didn't do anything. So I was perfect. Because I would rather do that than to walk in with some issues that really wasn't about you, because now you're making up things because you don't know why they fired you, or why they let you go, or why they exit the friendship. So you don't want to hold on to that. You know what I'm saying? You just don't. And I'll say, not everyone deserves access to you forever. You don't deserve access to them forever. There is a reason, a season. They say it's for a reason, season, or lifetime. So silence isn't always kindness. Okay, it could be soft close. It could be a soft exit. Let them go with love, without the clarity, or both, with clarity and without. Just let them go. Do yourself a service, because I feel like if you're really, really, really friends, or there was really a respectable dynamic there, whether it's from a work perspective or a personal perspective, then there should have been a conversation. And so I will say, from my experience this week, when, a couple of my clients was like, listen, I'm really tired of walking around getting my hair fucked up by people. I need to come back. And I know you do natural hair because you do so-and-so, and she ain't never went nowhere. Girl, nerve when I tell you they was throwing folks on the bus. And why? How she doing your hand? She ain't doing mine. And what I learned from that was we both didn't take the opportunity. I should have reached out when I saw that they weren't coming back. They didn't show up at the appointment. They were exiting after so many. I should say, hey, you good? What's going on? To kind of have that conversation. But I also, at that time, I'm like, I ain't finna beg nobody, girl. But, it ain't about begging. It was about getting clarity. We both could have saved each other a whole lot of time with that, right? So we are what we are, right? So you just want to make sure you do that. But listen, have you ever been fired from a friendship or family relationship? Listen, did it hurt? I know it did. Drop it in the comments, honey, and tell me about it. Tell me if this episode helped you. You know what I'm saying? And so I want to make sure these episodes are entertaining, but I also want to make sure that it's helping people. You get what I'm saying? And last but not least, I do want you to hear me when I say not everyone deserves access to you forever, and that's okay. And silence isn't always kindness, but you can let go of people with love, and you can either provide them clarity or not. That's okay. But be honest about it. Be honest if you're the one that's doing the ghosting and the soft exiting. Be honest about why you're doing it. Are you doing it to protect your peace, or are you doing it to avoid discomfort, or are you just a coward? Because some people they would rather talk shit about you behind your back before they do anything. You know what I'm saying? And then you need to figure out, how do you gently express the disconnection? And then can you exit with some form of compassion? Because I feel like if you want at war with that person, there's no need to treat them like, the war has ended and you won. You understand what I'm saying? Like, I don't understand that. I really don't. So I'm going to put a poll up. Have you been quietly fired from a friendship or family relationship? And I'm going to ask you, yes, it hurts. I know people who are quietly quitting their jobs. And I don't understand that, because I'm like, bitch, in this market, it ain't a whole bunch of jobs out there. Why is you doing that? Why is you fucking up, girl? Like, don't do that. It ain't easy finding jobs out here. Why is you fucking up? Do what you gotta do. Or just leave that bitch. Why is you, girl? It's so many people out there would love to have your job. Don't do too much. Don't be acting like, honey, this is in the way I deal with situations like that, even with work, honey, this is bi-directionally beneficial. Okay, I'm not gonna act like, bitch, oh my God, you're my savior, and we're not doing that. But this helps us both, right? So y'all keep it cute. If y'all out there destroying people's lives and quietly exiting and causing these people to have triggers, get yourselves together. Learn how to talk to people. And if you don't know how to talk to people, get you some therapy. Try it out. This is what we're here for. Message me and I'll try to help you the best way that I can. I'm just now getting here. But I will tell you, I've been fired. I will probably fire again in the morning. I'm still being fired from places. I get it. And from people. I get it. It is what it is. And if they want to have a conversation about it, or if they do something fucked up, and I'm like, now, why would you do that? I used to ask, but now I'm not asking anymore. I'm like, bitch, it ain't none of my business. So that's on you. Keep doing you. All right. I love y'all. Y'all have a good day. And we'll talk later. Bye, y'all. Thank you for sharing this moment with me. Remember, grace isn't just for others, it's for you too. Until next time, this has been the Savon Experience Pillow Talk Solo Edition. Be kind, be soft, be you. No mask, no noise, just my truth in the dark. Laid back whispers straight from the heart. Let the world now come and walk this walk. You're deep inside the Savon Experience. Pillow talk, pillow talk.